Education is, yes, is key to success and to growth and to sustainability, but it's not just education. The right kind of education is right for sustainability.
My name is Andrew Balongo Pere, and I'm a creative, so I use graphic design, photography, video editing, podcasting to tell powerful stories, especially of Africans, because I discovered that Kenyans and Africans are doing world-class things on the ground, but that's not reflected in the online world. So I'm inspired by what the West and everyone who has gone ahead of us has done, and they have their books and videos that I can have access to. But now it is our time to be inspired by our own change makers and business people all across who are doing wonderful things.
My name is Adonis Ochoga with the name Felix. It's very hard to describe who I am, but I'll tell you what I do. So I'm in two spaces, FinTech and MediaTech. And for MediaTech, I help creators to be able to platform the different kind of content they're able to do to inform Africa of what is happening around them and globally, and just also to let the global south to know what is happening around global south. So just aggregating and getting a marketplace, creating content for content creators. And on the FinTech, I just want to solve Africa's disrupted ecosystem.
My name is Daisy Mosso. I'm a PhD student at Egerton University. I'm pursuing environmental science. At the same time, I'm a climate change researcher in the field of climate change adaptation and mitigation. First of all, food security is all about, it's not only about access, it's also about affordability of food, the quality of food, and the quantity of food. So as much as there is increased population and there is so much need for food, we should also cater for the environmental sustainability in terms of reducing the impact that food production has on the environment. For example, the use of artificial fertilizers has a lot of impact on the environment, the chemicals, because of leaching of the chemicals. It goes to the water systems, so it affects the human beings at the end of it all. So it is very important that we do practices that are sustainable, environmentally sustainable practices in terms of production. For example, minimum tillage of the land so that we don't disturb the environment as much, and most importantly, using organic fertilizers that are more eco-friendly to the environment.
Solve for hunger first, and poverty, income inequality. These are inherently Africa's biggest problem. Climate change, to me, that's a rich man's problem in Africa. Can you worry about climate change? You don't have food? No. That's where we're starting. Get Africa food, let Africa develop its own food. Income inequality, create more jobs, industrialize Africa. This is how you build Africa. You industrialize Africa through tech, through innovation, through, let's say, those climate that they give us and other things. African Development Bank Group did something amazing. They took 5 drought-free kind of wheat and planted it and did a testing in Ethiopia. And it was also, I think it was drought resistant, pest resistant, and they planted it in Ethiopia. on 5,000 acres. Right now, Ethiopia is planting 2 million acres of wheat. It means that Ethiopia is free from wheat importing. How do you solve for that? Bring solutions that work for Africa. And I'm recommending, because now I'm recommending this Adesina, the president of African Development Group, because this is an amazing job. Let's do the same things for Africa. That was innovation with sustainability. Go forward.
If we look at other places that are producing food enough for their citizens, you notice that what they do is they lease the land. Because, for example, in Kenya, a lot of farmers might not be able to own the land. Or, for example, you and I, we might be interested, but we don't have the financing. So they can say, okay, fine. They lease the land, give us the land, provide for us the seeds and everything. We'll do the difficult work of planting and making sure that there's produce. Who benefits? They do, because they get their cut from the land and produce gets to market. So that is just one example of how government can facilitate things that are expensive for the regular citizen to do. And on top of that, there's one more thing that, if not addressed, Kenya will never be able to eat the fruit of its own strength and wealth. We don't have a strong sense of identity where we can say, buy Kenya, build Kenya, or make Kenya great. And that's why you see we import everything. We import even our food, yet we don't need to import food, we have local. We're importing sugar, yet we don't need to import sugar. There's so many practices all around the world. Why are we importing tangerines, as an example, from Israel, which is a desert, yet we have favorable weather? They have irrigation schemes. Why aren't we copying that and duplicating that in Mandera or Turkana, as an example? So we need to take a hard look in the mirror. And I'm just saying this not in a bad way. Everywhere has its levels of corruption, and it is a fact of life. But there's a way how you can still allow the environment to thrive while still eating. But if people can be able to be on their own 2 feet and afford food for their family, take their children to school and cater to their needs, they really won't care too much if you're eating. But if you're eating too much to where people cannot unlock their livelihood and take care of their basics, then that's where it becomes a problem.
With regards to food security, I'd also like to say that it's important that as farmers go out to plant, they should also do soil testing of their soil to make sure that they are planting the right varieties to reduce wastages as well, and also planting drought-resistant crops in the ASAL areas would help increase the food security.
What I've come to notice is each African group behaves differently, and even each African city behaves differently. Because, for example, if you look at urbanization in Nairobi versus Mombasa, two totally different mindsets. In Mombasa, it's Arab inspired. They follow Muslim, and you can see the architecture is heavily embedded in how they build their houses and their flats and what have you. You can see that they build it based on weather. Here in Nairobi, it's like the real estate people don't care. So you see already those two mindsets just shows you those two cities under the same Kenya behave differently. So I think what determines whether urbanization helps or hurts is as we build these buildings, are they being built for the enhancement of the individual? You'll find, for example, in Nairobi, a lot of the flats don't build, let's say, if they want to target families, there's no space for where the kids can play. And from conversations I've overheard, people in real estate and developers speaking, they're like, that space that was designated for a playground Why waste that? It's better to put another unit there and make money. So such an attitude is what hurts, is how urbanization now hurts, sustainability.
Innovation is another thing. You can innovate anything. I think technology is the future of the world. And we first have to look into platforming this all kind of information being getting to the younger generation before it's always too late. Africa, we always catching the wind. There's a verse in the Bible, in the book of Ecclesiastes. King Solomon talks about when you're chasing the things of the world, it's like chasing the wind. You never catch it. And that is what we have made Africa to be in. We have to be so ready with technology, build the infrastructure to work for us. Let me give an example. Yes, I'm building a solution to compete against M-Pesa, but I have to give it to M-Pesa. M-Pesa has made things rollout of 5Gs and all these things to be faster. It means that 80% of Kenyans are using smartphones, more than 5 million. If you think about it, even electricity, get access to electricity, it's because of M-Pesa. Because if there's a kiosk somewhere that has M-Pesa, that means there are people that are consuming. So it's a data imperative to actually bring in innovation. The reality of the matter is this: you can only grow with technology. You can run away from it, you can do whatever you want, but we have to make technology work for us. And there's so many things that are being done in terms of technology. At the same time, we have to create enabling environment for technology to work. If you don't do that, I am very sorry. We are going to be playing a game of Tom and Jerry. Keep on chasing and never finding it.
We also need to cater for the other facets of human development in terms of urbanization and its industrialization, because we see that Africa, most of it is a third world country, so we still need to catch up with leading countries, the first world countries. So in as much as we want to be industrialized and developed, we also need to take care of the future generation so that we don't degrade the environment beyond its capacity.
Well, I wouldn't say we've achieved gender equality. Do you say equality or equity? But I will say also it depends also on the lens you're looking at it from. Because with each lens you look at it, it's either positive or negative. If you look at education, especially in the cities, yes, girls have a whole lot of access to education now. But also that doesn't talk about now specific challenges, that they experience on campus. Let's say from sugar daddies as an example. So boys really don't deal with that. So you see, on one level, girls are benefiting when they have access to equity, but now that is now a social and cultural challenge.
Africa needs sustainable solutions. Sustainability is not green. Sustainability means there is no inequality. There is gender equity, not equality. Let's not lie to ourselves. Gender equity. It means that I have the qualification, whether male or female. Qualification matter first. How qualified am I? Now we can talk about after that. We can talk about any other thing, but if I'm poor, who cares?
Also, we shouldn't pit one group against another, like women in the city versus women of country. Because there are some women who, let's say, they just want to be a housewife. For other women, that is not an option for them. They want to have a career. So I think we also should allow choice. And we should also, I think, explicitly articulate that with each choice comes certain experiences, certain privileges and certain setbacks, if they do happen. So I will say across the board there have been moves forward. And I'll say that for the moves to continue moving forward, there needs to be continued education between men and women, not women talking from a point of attacking and blaming, but from a point of educating about the impact of certain choices on their lifestyle and context, so that we can support them, so that they can continue to have more choices if they choose to experience a particular field or what have you.
Information is power, same as knowledge is power. What you have as information is just data that is processed and is processed well. I think the future to education is not necessarily what's in the world. China's education has worked for them. They've industrialized, and right now they've moved from industrialized kind of education to now teaching children on the nitty-gritty details. In fact, I saw a video that Chinese children now being taught how to do normal house chores, and I was like, interesting. So we ran away from that, and guess what? A developed market is doing that. So we have to go back and ask ourselves, what is our culture? And do we want to be culturally eroded, or do we want it to make it work for us? How we make it work for us? We sit down as a nation and think, what is it that my child needs to know? And at the same time, I don't think it's important for my child or someone who is not interested in science to be forced into science. Let education comes out of a need basis, out of talent basis. In fact, I am pro talent so much, as opposed to every kind of education.
Let's learn from history. Let's learn from the past, and that you can still eat as an individual even though you're in power. But if you open the gates and the environment, you will eat more and others will also eat.
Globally, if you're not informed, you can't speak on any matter. The idea that I'm able to speak about sustainability means that I am informed. So education is very important. Let's start with that. Though we have a problem in Africa that the education that we have is not necessarily sustainable enough for us to even think of sustainability. And I'll explain it in this way. We are taught how to think, not taught to think for ourselves and build up solutions. So this is a huge problem, and I think it should be addressed fast and goes about. I think just also to shed some light is right now we can get information left, right, and center because we're in the global village, right? But also the existing social media that is supposed to provide information is a bit saturated. The incumbent or traditional media only talks about bipartisan talks. For example, if you're in the US, there's Fox News and there is CNN. One is Democrat, the other one is Republican. So there is also biasness. So media plays a key role in terms of development. And the same thing, you're looking at things like AI. They're coming to Africa in 2023 when the likes of Amazon started speaking about AI in 2004. So yes, education has a very important role into sustainability, but we have to get it right and we have to do it right. We have to inform our children, right? So that they are well informed and well equipped to be able to transform the world and make the world a better place.
I believe that with the right policies, we will get there. The progress may be very slow, but we will get there given the high population increase that happens with that. But it's very important that as much as we do that, we make sure that we are protecting our riparian areas, we are protecting our forests, and we are living in harmony with the environment. So it will happen with time.
Like I can even give this example for free. If you're listening to this, please use this idea. I give this example. For example, how much does Cristiano Ronaldo make? Just throw any number. Okay, let's say he makes 500 million, right? Okay, right now he's about to be transferred to at the time of this recording, Inter Miami. But let's say if you're still in English Premier League, right? People think that that's wealthy, right? But I want to ask the question. If you are the owner, how much are you making to pay your star employee 500 million? Remembering that there are 11 players who are playing, you have to have their substitutes, so those are 22. And then you have the non-coaching staff. So let's just, for argument's sake, just say you're making 1.5 billion. And that's just one team in the Premier League. They have an average of 20. For argument's sake, let's just say all those teams, that is their salaries for all the owners. That's 1.5 B times 20. And that's just one sport, and that's just one division. So you see, if the sports environment just open their eyes to put development like they do in the West, because even that money that's being made, there's ticket sales, and then there's the rights for merchandising. If you have star athletes, that's merchandise, marketing. There's so many revenue opportunities. Then you start developing kids' schools for sports, which now feed into the main thing. So there's money from the whole line. Now imagine you do that for each sport. If you're the tax man, how much would you be smiling? So that's just an example of me saying, yes, you can be corrupt. It's okay. We understand everyone is corrupt. We want to go into the reasons for being corrupt. But once you open the environment to flourish, and the West have done this well. In fact, copy from the West in sense of export Kenya, make Kenya so good in every single thing, from education to sports to scientists. I'm tired of watching movies about Russian scientists. Why not Kenyan scientists? That now we are charging white people 3 times more to come here in order to learn from us. We have that potential, we have that capability, but we all need to work together to unlock this. That is my take home.